Did you see and hear what I just heard? That trainer was afraid for his life, for real. The sound and speed of those punches, there ain't no way Jake Paul went against him. But what do I know? Let's get into the facts. This saga with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is about to get real juicy. At 58 years old, Mike Tyson, the once undisputed king of the ring, decided to lace up his gloves and step into the boxing spotlight once again. Who was his opponent? None other than Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned fighter with a knack for stirring up headlines and a fan base that loves to scream his name. Now, let's not sugarcoat this. Mike wasn't exactly in his prime anymore, but that didn't stop him from giving it his all. Honey, this wasn't just a fight. It was an event. The match went down in a packed Dallas Cowboys stadium, with millions tuning in from around the globe to witness what was essentially the boxing equivalent of a TikTok challenge gone wild. Tyson, the heavyweight legend with a career that spans decades, went 8 two-minute rounds against Jake, who's practically young enough to be his grandson. But this wasn't just about age. It was about heart, grit, and the kind of drama that keeps us glued to our screens. Spoiler alert, Tyson didn't win the fight. But oh, sweetie, the night wasn't about victory on the scorecards. It was about a legacy that refused to be tarnished. Mike took to social media after the fight to spill some shocking details about his journey leading up to this epic showdown. He revealed that just a few months prior, in June, he had come dangerously close to death. Let me break it down for you. 8 blood transfusions, half of his blood lost, and a whopping 25 pounds shed during a hospital stay. Can we get a moment of silence for how insane that is? This man was not just fighting Jake Paul, he was fighting for his life. And yet, here he was, standing toe-to-toe in the ring, defying odds like only Mike Tyson can. In his heartfelt post, Tyson wrote, "This is one of those situations where you lose, but you still win."
Man, I mean, to me, that was like watching some WWE type of shit. To me, there's 2 different ways to look at it. Like, I was out at a restaurant and we were drinking and all this type of shit. Couldn't fully hear the commentary and all that. But for what I'm watching, to me, there was times that I felt like Mike could have hit this dude and didn't hit him. You know what I mean? But then on the converse, you know, people saying, yo, this dude Jake Paul was actually giving Mike some mercy. You know what I mean? Mike's legs was looking bad. And, you know, I think the whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy.
And win he did. For him, the highlight of the night wasn't just going 8 rounds with a fighter half his age, it was doing it in front of his family. Tyson spoke about the immense pride and emotion he felt knowing his children were in the audience, watching their dad show the world what true resilience looks like. To have my children see me fight and finish 8 rounds in front of a packed stadium is an experience no man has the right to ask for. He shared, "If that doesn't make you tear up, are you even human?" Jake Paul, on the other hand, might have walked away with the technical win, but let's not act like he dominated the night. Fans and critics alike were quick to point out how cautious Jake seemed in the ring. Some even accused him of going easy on Tyson, suggesting he let Mike live out of respect. Whether that's true or not, Jake's performance didn't exactly wow anyone. Even veteran boxing analysts were left unimpressed, with one commentator calling it boring as hell. Ouch, Jake. Better luck next time. But Jake wasn't the only Paul brother making waves. Logan Paul, never one to shy away from the spotlight, decided to stir the pot by hinting at a potential match with Tyson himself. And honey, when I tell you the internet lost its mind, I mean it went full meltdown mode. Logan, in his typical brash fashion, claimed, "I would kill Mike." Logan, sweetie, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Tyson, ever the unbothered king, responded with a sly grin that practically said, "Try me." The back and forth had fans debating whether this could be the next blockbuster fight in the making. The numbers from the event were staggering. Over 60 million households tuned in to watch the main event live, with streaming platforms crashing under the weight of concurrent viewers. Social media was ablaze with hashtags like #Paul's Tyson and #GoatV's YouTuber trending worldwide. Even Netflix, which streamed the event, faced backlash for technical glitches that left viewers frustrated. Netflix should stick to movies and stay out of boxing, one disgruntled fan tweeted. Oop, shots fired. And let's not forget the co-main event between Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, which drew nearly 50 million viewers. Their rematch is already being hailed as the most watched professional women's sporting event in US history. Talk about stealing the show. Women's boxing is on the rise, and these ladies proved they're here to stay. Honestly, they might have been the real MVPs of the night. Meanwhile, back in the main event, the critique of Jake Paul continued to roll in. Sean Porter, a two-time world welterweight champion, didn't hold back in his assessment. Jake's performance was boring, he said bluntly, adding that the young fighter lacked substance. If the kid had substance, we would have been entertained, Porter quipped. And let's be real, he's not wrong. Jake's flashy persona might draw crowds, but his in-ring skills, let's just say there's room for improvement. But the story doesn't stop there. Oh no, not when you're dealing with a night like this. Social media exploded in the aftermath, with fans and celebrities alike weighing in on the fight. From casual viewers to die-hard boxing enthusiasts, everyone had something to say. Mike Tyson's resilience became a trending topic, with memes flooding Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. One particularly viral clip showed Tyson landing a clean jab on Jake, captioned, "58 years young and still teaching lessons." The internet loves a good underdog story, and Tyson embodied that to perfection. Meanwhile, Jake Paul found himself at the center of another kind of storm. Critics questioned his intentions, accusing him of capitalizing on Tyson's legacy for clout rather than genuinely proving his skills in the ring.
We love him and his legacy, and we didn't like what we saw last night. What we saw last night seemed like something that very much tarnished his legacy for a little bit of bread, you know? And somebody will say, oh, 20 million, that's not a little bit of money. Well, you know, I was talking to my man Isaiah Washington earlier, and he was breaking it down as far as like, nigga, you know the government takes half, you know what I mean? Then you got to give your handlers or whatever 20%, you might graciously walk away with 5. You know what I mean? You might get 5 out of that 20. You see what I'm saying? So is $5 million, I mean, and that's nothing to sneeze at. I'd love to be paid $5 million for something, but is that worth tarnishing your legacy? Someone like Mike Tyson, you know? I think a lot of us would say no, you know? Yeah, I think it was just a disappointing performance. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that Mike turned around and gave us his ass to kiss for the whole world to see. That was some crazy shit too. Like, I don't know what that was about. Like, Mike just don't give a f. I never in the history of boxing seen no shit like that. Like in the history of sports, I never seen no shit like that. In the locker room and all this type of shit. Like, that was crazy. I don't know if that was, again, part of the scripting of what we watched last night, but that was nasty work. And yeah. And I just feel like these Paul dudes, you know, Jake Paul and the other one, I feel like they're fighting, they're trying to just cut the line. They're using money and all this to try to fight some of our greatest fighters, our greatest black fighters too. They're taking our greatest black fighters, fighting them after their prime and saying, hey, I fought them, like, you know what I mean? Trying to almost be like that great white hope, but not legitimately. even though you just informed me that this was a sanctioned fight.
Jake fights for views, not respect, one commentator wrote, echoing a sentiment shared by many. Others pointed out how calculated the Paul brothers have become, leveraging their massive followings to stage these headline-grabbing events. It's not boxing as we know it, it's sports entertainment. And Jake knows how to play the game. Love him or hate him, the kid knows how to stay relevant. As for Tyson, he's already been offered multiple opportunities following his performance. Rumors are swirling about a potential documentary chronicling his road to recovery and this epic fight against Jake Paul. Netflix, still trying to recover from its streaming fiasco, is reportedly keen to produce it, hoping to make amends with fans. Tyson, ever the enigmatic figure, hasn't confirmed anything yet, but fans are already clamoring for a deeper look into his journey. And let's face it, who wouldn't watch a docuseries about one of the greatest boxers of all time making an improbable return to the ring? Then there's the question of Tyson's legacy. For decades, he's been a polarizing figure, known as much for his controversies as for his unparalleled dominance in the ring. But nights like these remind us why we fell in love with him in the first place. He's not just a fighter, he's a survivor. From his tumultuous childhood to his rise as the youngest heavyweight champion in history, and now this incredible comeback at nearly 60, Tyson's story is one for the ages. It's raw, messy, and unapologetically human, just like him. And let's talk about the money for a second. The event was a financial juggernaut, raking in millions in pay-per-view sales alone. Tyson reportedly earned a cool $15 million for the fight, while Jake walked away with $10 million. Of course, those figures don't include sponsorship deals, merchandise, or the inevitable YouTube monetization streams that Jake will milk for months. Say what you will about the Paul brothers, but they've turned boxing into a lucrative business in ways that traditional promoters could only dream of. But money can't buy respect, and that's where Jake's challenges lie. Even with an undefeated record, he continues to face criticism for dodging legitimate fighters and opting for aging legends or non-boxers. "When are you going to fight someone your own size, Jake?" became a rallying cry among his detractors. The pressure is mounting for him to step up and face someone who can truly test his skills. Until then, his victories will always come with an asterisk. On the other hand, Tyson doesn't have anything left to prove. His performance against Jake was the cherry on top of a storied career that's already cemented in the annals of boxing history. Whether he decides to stay retired or entertain more exhibition bouts, one thing is clear. Tyson fights for the love of the sport, not for validation. And isn't that what makes him so compelling? He's flawed, he's vulnerable, and yet he's undeniably magnetic. As the days turned into weeks, the buzz surrounding the fight refused to die down. Boxing forums lit up with debates about what this match meant for the sport's future. Purists lamented the rise of celebrity boxing, arguing that it cheapens the legacy of fighters who spent their entire lives honing their craft. Others embraced the spectacle, acknowledging that events like this bring new audiences to the sport. If it gets people talking about boxing, is that really a bad thing? One fan argued. It's a debate that's unlikely to be settled anytime soon. For Tyson's family, the night was about more than boxing. It was about redemption. His children, who grew up hearing stories about their dad's glory days, finally got to witness him in action. The pride in their eyes was evident, and Tyson later admitted that their presence was his greatest motivation. "I wanted them to see what their father is made of," he said in an emotional post-fight interview, and boy did he deliver. Jake Paul, ever the provocateur, didn't waste time teasing his next move. In a post-fight press conference, he hinted at a huge announcement coming soon, fueling speculation about potential opponents. Names like KSI, Conor McGregor, and even Nate Diaz started swirling in the rumor mill. Love him or hate him, Jake knows how to keep us guessing. As for Logan Paul, his comments about fighting Tyson didn't go unnoticed. Fans were quick to point out the audacity of his claims, with many urging him to stay in his lane. "Logan wouldn't last 2 rounds with Tyson," one boxing analyst quipped. Whether Logan will actually follow through, or if it's all just talk, remains to be seen. Either way, the Paul brothers have successfully positioned themselves as the most polarizing figures in boxing today. The aftermath of the fight saw a ripple effect throughout the boxing world, sparking discussions that reached far beyond the confines of the ring. Promoters began eyeing similar events, realizing the commercial goldmine such spectacles could be. Suddenly, whispers of retired legends stepping back into the limelight grew louder. Names like Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis began circulating, with fans dreaming of potential matchups that might reignite old rivalries or create new narratives. The Tyson-Paul fight had planted a seed, an intriguing blend of nostalgia and novelty that even traditionalists couldn't ignore entirely.
This was a sanctioned fight, which means this is officially on Mike Tyson's record that he lost to this guy. And it's on Jake Paul's record that he won, that he beat Mike Tyson. And although it was officially sanctioned, does that mean that the fight was truly official? Does that mean that, they couldn't have agreed on an outcome? Because I believe regardless, there was going to be an outcome. One got paid $40 million and one got paid $20 million. I believe the guy that got paid $40 million, in the script, he was going to win regardless. And maybe that's why Mike was biting on his glove the whole night and shit. Because he was so frustrated that the fact that he can't just let his hands go. Because we saw clips of Mike training where he was looking explosive, bro. Where was that Mike? Where was that Mike last night? Like, I just feel like they were like, you are not going to hit this boy. You are not going to break this man. And and he's going to hit you though. For this money, you're going to let him hit you. Now, again, people's like, man, Jake could have handled him. Maybe he could have, Mike was looking bad, but at the same time, I know experience can sometimes overcome youth, and the boxing knowledge that Mike has, and if he was working out and all that inner power that an older man can garner, like, I don't know, man. I just feel like he never let his hands go, ever, in the you know what I mean? But Jake Paul might have not let his fully go either. So, yeah.
So you personally, right, you feel like the fight was fake?
I feel like all those Jake Paul fights are not real. I mean, I feel like they're boxing to some degree, but I feel like it's definitely a lot of entertainment that's mixed into it. I feel like these guys feel like, yo, this is the new formula. Like, trust me, we got this, this is the new this is boxing for the internet age, for the, for the IG age and all of this type of shit. These dudes was just influencers who decided, yo, I want to box.
Meanwhile, Tyson's personal life also found its way into the headlines. Always a man of complexity, he spoke candidly in interviews about the journey that led him back into the ring. He reflected on his younger years, the mistakes that nearly derailed him, and the battles he fought, not just against opponents, but against himself. This wasn't about Jake Paul, Tyson said in an interview with a major sports network. This was about proving to myself that I still have the fire. His words struck a chord with fans who followed his tumultuous career, reinforcing the idea that Tyson is more than a fighter. He's a symbol of perseverance. For Jake Paul, the post-fight period became an endless cycle of media appearances, podcasts, and interviews. He capitalized on the moment, as expected, positioning himself as the bridge between old-school boxing and the new generation. "I'm bringing eyes to the sport," Jake claimed during a heated interview with a sports pundit. While his critics rolled their eyes, there was no denying the truth in his statement. Pay-per-view numbers, social media engagement, and general buzz around boxing had all spiked significantly. Like it or not, Jake Paul was making boxing interesting again, even if it wasn't in the way purists envisioned. But Jake's bravado couldn't completely overshadow the lingering doubts about his career. Calls for him to face a real boxer reached a fever pitch. Analysts dissected his record, pointing out the lack of legitimate competition. "It's time for Jake to step into the deep end," a renowned boxing commentator declared on a popular sports podcast. Whether Jake is ready or willing to take that step remains uncertain. For now, he's riding the wave of success. But even the most die-hard fans know that credibility isn't built on exhibition bouts alone. As the dust settled, boxing's younger audience seemed reinvigorated, with many discovering the sport for the first time through events like Tyson versus Paul. Streaming platforms reported increased interest in classic bouts, with Tyson's prime-era fights seeing a noticeable uptick in views. It was as if the fight had sparked a newfound appreciation for the artistry of boxing, even among a generation more accustomed to viral TikToks than 12-round wars. Whether this surge of interest will translate into long-term growth for the sport remains to be seen, but for now, boxing was basking in its moment in the spotlight. Tyson's trainer, who played a crucial role in his preparation, became a minor celebrity in his own right. In interviews, he spoke about the challenges of training an older athlete and the discipline Tyson brought to every session. "He's a machine," the trainer remarked. "Even at feat 8, he outworks guys half his age. When he puts his mind to something, there's no stopping him." Fans marveled at the behind-the-scenes footage showing Tyson's grueling regimen, from intense sparring sessions to his dedication to recovery. It was a reminder that greatness doesn't come easy, no matter your age. And what about the sport itself? Tyson versus Paul was a cultural moment that transcended boxing, blending elements of sports, entertainment, and social media spectacle. It was a night that reminded us why we tune into these events, not just for the fights, but for the stories, the drama, and the larger-than-life characters. Tyson and Paul might be at opposite ends of the spectrum, but together, they created a night we won't soon forget.